Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Kat Ward.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast 100th episode. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you all, because if I didn't have amazing listeners like you, I wouldn't have a podcast. So from the bottom of my paranormal heart, see what I did there? Thank you for spending your precious time with my guest and I, and a huge thank you to all of my guests, past and those to come. Much love and respect to all of you. Folks, for my 100th episode, I have not one, but two guests. Both have been on the show before, and I am honored to call them friends. For my first guest, I have researcher of the unexplained, whose studies focuses primarily on malevolent hauntings, international public figure, and paranormal consultant for television and other related media, Michelle Desrochers. Michelle and I delve into an intriguing device she calls a portal. This machine is used to communicate with spirits. She mentions how she had a strange and brief discussion with what she believes to be possible pilots from the 1950s. She also talks about her encounters with extraterrestrials, known as the Greys, and so much more. And for my second guest, I have wrestler, EVP researcher, author of Newfie EVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland, and host of Odd to Newfoundland podcast, Jon Mallard. Jon and I discuss how he helped me start my podcast, as well as naming it, how he and his wife became foster parents, some of his EVP research, and goes into detail about his near-death experience in December of 2022 into 23, and how a shaman who was believed to have been sent as a spirit guide to help him while he was in a coma, and other strange things. If you'd like to share your encounters on the show, I'd love to have you on. You can send me an audio recording of your encounter. You can write it for me to narrate, or we can record our conversation together, whatever you feel comfortable with. And if you have questions, comments, or have a topic or guest you'd like to hear on the show, let me know at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoy the show, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell your friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Tell the world about Paranormal Heart Podcast. You can tell them that new episodes are released on the second and last Sunday of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find me on YouTube, Podbean, KPNL Digital Network on Thursday nights, and any place you find fine podcasts. Now, on with the show. Hello, Michelle. Welcome to Paranormal Heart's 100th episode.
Thank you so much for making me your 100th guest. I'm so honored, and I'm happy to be here, as always.
The honor is mine. I mean, I'm having two guests for the listeners this time, and I'm so happy that you accepted, so thank you.
Oh, a pleasure. A pleasure.
So the main topic that I like to discuss, I had listened to you and Linda Quirino a couple of months ago, and you discussed this machine that intrigued me, and I need to know more. And I'm sorry to your listeners, Willow's on the other side of a door, and she just won't stop, so I do apologize for the background howls. If you could please tell us about this intriguing machine.
It's called a portal, actually, and I'm pretty sure that's the one that you're inquiring about. I had it built probably about 3 years ago, and there are a lot of variations of it now, but it's basically was built for me by the person who created it in the first place, much like the Ghost Box with Frank Sumption and all of the ones that came after. But what it typically is, it's a strange contraption. It's an amplifier more than anything, and it can be used. It's designed to be used with pretty much anything. I can use it, and I have used it with the Ghost box and with the Frank's box, because I do have a Frank's box here. And I have used it with, there's a lot of apps that come with it. And it's just something designed to have fun with, police scanners, anything. And what's great about it is it can be used in reverse mode, which means it's like playing an LP backwards. It's basically, like I said, it can be used with many different things. It does work with, I like to use it in reverse mode, which means it's like playing an LP backwards. Spirits have to convert their speech forward to forward speech, which to me adds a little bit more validity, and you're not using all the background noise. It's just a different feature altogether. And it's had some incredible results. And it's not just, for spirit activity. I mean, it's captured all kinds of different things.
That's intriguing.
It's intriguing.
So how did it first get developed? Like who developed it?
Huff Paranormal. Steve Huff did it. And I don't think he does them anymore, actually. I mean, he's upgraded onto a lot of different things. Love him or hate him. He does build some interesting, devices, and he was, gracious enough to build one for me before he scaled back on them. And again, I think he's just on to different things. But it's hard to explain this thing. You would almost have to see it. I know it's been captured on some of the stuff that I have filmed, but it's first time I've ever tested it. I tested it with my Ghost box, and the crisp, it was just filtered out a lot of that background noise that comes in from that static and stuff, which some people really love for research. They're like, no, we like the static, it's just, it helps spirits come through. I agree. In some cases, depending on the device you're using, absolutely. And it basically right away started just giving me all of this stuff. And I said, well, who are you? And he goes, we're you are us, we're one. And I was like, that's pretty deep.
Wow.
Yeah, just like that. And for the record, I record all my sessions too. So I don't just, pull this out of my ear and go, hey, I do record them. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. And it was just a lot of different things that started coming out with it. And I've tested it a few times and have had unbelievable results, even with, extraterrestrials.
That's amazing.
So, yes. But I think the incident you're inquiring about, as per what Linda and I were talking about, were the pilots.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've never had anything like that in all of my years with anything, any piece of equipment I've ever used. And I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked if I had just used a regular Ghost box or anything like that. It just happened to occur when I was using this device. And what started coming through was an old, like an airplane propeller. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. I just turned around and I'm tapped into some bad 50s movie, That's like great. But it started getting really curious. So I let it go for a little bit. And I kept hearing this voice saying, hello, hello. And I'm just going, okay, this is different. And I said, hello. We just started getting a dialogue going. And I kept saying, like, who are you? And they were talking amongst one another, which was really strange. Spirits do that. But it was just different because they were describing what they were seeing, which was Wayne and I sitting at the table. They're like, there's a man and a woman, they're sitting at a table. I'm just like, mm-hmm. So I'm hearing all this and they're talking and I'm like, who are you? And I'm like, where are you? First of all, and they kept saying, we're lost. We don't know. I thought, okay. So, first thought comes, okay, you're grounded. Okay, maybe we could just talk you through this. And the plane was so loud. And I'm like, I realized at this point, they sounded almost like out of the 50s. You hear a bad 50s movie. And so I'm thinking, I'm just going to roll with this and see where it goes. And, because there was intelligent responses coming from here. This wasn't like I tapped into some bad movie. And I said, what's your rank and position? And he said, Major. And again, it's in the recording. I don't remember what it was. Major so-and-so, ma'am. He said, he yelled at some, coordinates but only the first two of the three came through. And from what we were seeing, it was somewhere over the Pacific. So I thought, okay, that's really interesting. But it goes to show you, people in Canada have accents. So he basically, they're talking to one another, and he goes, who is this? He goes, I don't know. I think it's the Queen. I'm like, yeah, let's go with that. Dark realm, maybe. Definitely not England. And when they said, I said, what do you see? They said, nothing. It's black. We don't see anything. And Wayne and I are looking at each other going, what the heck, are we experiencing here? And that's when they started to describe us. There's a man and a woman. They're sitting at a table. They're doing something. They have electricity. And I'm going, okay, interesting. It's like, look, there's a door. It's open. Do not come through that door. I just had visions of this bomber or something coming through the house. Because this is all new to me. But then they started pleading with me. They're like, please, we're lost, please. And it broke my heart. And then the whole connection cut off. And we just stood there looking at each other. And I remember that night there was some kind of a planetary alignment that everybody on social media was talking about. And I'm like, okay, so obviously there's something that has to do with the atmospheric, dimensions, something. So we're going to, because we did, we put a reminder to do it exactly at the same time, the following year, same date, everything, and got nothing. So there was just something that was going on. Mm-hmm. And right after these guys, somebody else came in and said, well, hello there. And I'm like, hey, who am I talking to now, right? And we just had a dialogue that started with this elderly man. And he said, I said, where are you? Who are you? And all of a sudden, he said they were kind to us at first. I'm like, okay, well, can you explain what, can you explain your story? This really ornery woman came through. She goes, he's trying to tell you. I'm like, oh, God. Okay, I'm so sorry. That cut out. It just got really, something he said, they were kind to us at first and they turned on us. It was just something crazy. Honestly, if I hadn't recorded it, I wouldn't have believed any of it personally. It was just unreal. And I've never gotten anything like it since.
At first, I was thinking maybe with the pilots, maybe they were in the Bermuda Triangle, and for whatever reason, that's why you made contact. But then the couple that you spoke with, they probably weren't there as well?
No, I think they were fully aware of what we're doing. They somehow tapped in. I don't know from where. With the pilots, the Bermuda Triangle is in the Atlantic.
Oh,
but
crap. You said the Pacific, didn't you?
The Dragon's Triangle, which is out near Japan, is in that area. It could be over the Sea of Japan, but there's a lot of, if I even got that right, but I know it's out that way. So there's triangles everywhere and vortices all over this planet. All over this planet, they have them. We know the more famous ones, but there really are like another 7 or 8 of them at least. And you can get into time shifts very easily. There's stories of people who just walk out of their house and walk around to the back, and they come out and all of a sudden it's something entirely different. Like they're in a different time. They're seeing things that don't belong in their world. And then they come back around to the front of the house and they're right back where they started. And it happens one time. In fact, there's a woman out there who has a reward out because she woke up one morning in a different time, a different place, wearing different pajamas in her apartment. I would think, okay, it's got to be contact or abduction or something. Mm-hmm. And the people in her life are gone. Her fiance of 7 years, gone. It's like he never existed. His son, gone, like he never existed. So you've either been scrubbed, your memory's either been scrubbed or, something is definitely amiss. She goes to work, different building, same people, just really weird stuff. And she ended up putting out a reward and basically just saying, if you can get me back, help me figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, how sad is that? So this stuff happens, And
then a lot of times people are deemed crazy and they put them on medication. And back in the day, they would have put them in asylums. And
that's right.
So it makes you wonder, how long has this actually been going on?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, dimensionally speaking, we have, people are out, the jury's out on has to, dimensionally speaking, how many? Are we 12? Are we 10? Are we 7? Are we, consensus seems to be 12 being the magical number, but, there could be more. We don't really know, but it's just like, everything is in one time and space. It's just different levels. It's not hard to simultaneously tap in. There are people who can travel to dimensionally. I'm sure we all do when we sleep. If you park the car in the garage, you're not sleeping in it all night. You go to bed at night, you're going to, your essence is going to leave. It doesn't have to stay here. So I imagine it's the same idea.
So how many of these particular boxes, do you know how many have been made, and do other people who might have the same box, do they have the same results as what you had?
I really don't know the answer to either of those questions. I don't know how many were made. I think at one point the creator had said there may have been only 2 in Canada. So I don't really know. I mean, for me, I don't use it a whole lot anymore. I don't actively investigate. I don't have the time. And, I'm semi-retired, from film. Like I think, getting into what we went through over the last, couple of years, it really changed things a lot. And you could just do things remotely. And I just didn't, I don't know. I guess I just lost interest. But I also think that we evolve. So for me, I evolved into many different things, 2 decades of doing many things. I think I concentrated into one area that I enjoy, which is radio. Not that I don't enjoy film, I'll still continue on documentaries and things like that. And I did film one a couple of years ago, or actually last summer, which will surprise people when they realize what it is. It's not paranormal. So they'll be like, what? But, I still do like to play with it every now and then and just make contact and, just to interact. So it's a pretty incredible device.
It is. And it makes me wonder how did he come to the idea of building that in the first place?
I think part of what he does, it's sort of a 50-50 thing with people who like him or don't like him. At my point, I don't go around judging. I don't have to agree with what someone does. I'm buying something to try it, to see what is all the buzz about. I'm known for buying all kinds of equipment and seeing what is the buzz about. I've done a lot of events where I will show people, yes, this piece of equipment, here it is. This is how much it cost. Don't waste your money. Or, yeah, you know what? If you want to play around with it, go ahead, waste your money. I love communication devices. So, this is the only person that I could get it from, especially at the time. Other people weren't quite doing anything similar. So I was sort of like, okay, and I went for it. And, it's just been a really, really interesting piece altogether. So how he came up with it, he's just known for building different things. So, how did Frank Sumption come up with building the ghost box? Well, originally it was a Tesla design, and when I talked to Frank, because we spoke before he passed, we would chat quite a bit, and he would send me recordings that he had through his own devices. And he said, everybody thought I built this to speak with ghosts. He goes, I didn't. He goes, I built it to speak with aliens.
Oh.
And a lot of people, I would never have guessed, a really good friend of mine, one of my very, very close friends in my circle, was really like best friends with him. And she said the same thing. And when he basically sent that to me, I was just like mind blown, Yeah. And it's true, and it does work. It does work. But I have to reiterate, this isn't a magic box. It's an amplifier. It just has features on it that allow you to tweak whatever device it is you're working with. I went into, complete reverse speech, as opposed to just going through some crazy FM or AM band. I reversed it all, and it just came out that way. So it was like, okay, interesting. It just seems to take, anything. Spirits can use anything to come through and communicate if there are words or if there's a frequency that they can tap into, and somehow it happened.
And that particular moment had this something, all the ingredients were there to make everything work.
I believe they were, because I have never been able to recreate that, ever. It was a one-shot deal. It wasn't for a matter of even trying to create it in the first place. We were really surprised. And it was like one of the first time where there was a conversation going on. It's not like, you're getting random words. This is a conversation. They're responding very, they're giving us word for word what we want. They're fully aware of what's going on, coordinates, everything. So I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. So they're responding intelligently. What do you do with something like that? And I'm hearing something's going on. These were three men on some kind of an old plane of some sort. I have to assume military, because he was a major.
Yep.
This is what he said. It was really loud. You can hear the propellers going. And I was just like, God, it's not like they were just quietly talking. You could hear they're in a plane. So are they someone who slipped through time and they're just wandering? Or are they, they're saying we're lost. Are they deceased and they're just recreating what was left in their world at their last moments of their existence? I don't know. Those are just something I don't have answers to. Right?
That would drive me nuts, not knowing.
It does. We tried to recreate it like a couple of different years in a row, just trying to see, I would almost have to go back and see what that planetary alignment was. There was something quite special about it, because people were just, oh, look, these planets are lining up this year and on this night. And, we really didn't even think of that when we just decided to sit down and fire this thing up and test it. Like we were just testing it, playing around with it. It's like, well, okay, let's just see what's going on. Wow, God. All right. Not quite sure what that was, but it was something for sure.
I wish I could have seen your faces.
Yeah, we were a bit perplexed, but it's hard because we're also very skeptical. Despite what people see me on TV, I don't run around screaming, demon, demon. I don't do that. Yeah. I'm actually very logical. I'm liable to scream out psychokinesis more than I am demon,
Yeah.
But do I deal with these entities? For sure. I also deal with extraterrestrial beings. I also deal with everyday average spirit people. Is it my thing, that I do on a regular basis? No, my thing was helping people, working with really malevolent attachments and hauntings, whatever the case may be, people projecting energy, because I had the patience for it, and it just seemed to have the knack to be able to do it. I have the right mindset for it, obviously, because 20 years later, but I mean, it's, I don't know, it is what it is. We're very logical. So we're sitting there experiencing this, and we're looking at each other, and everything is running through our minds going, okay, well, what could it be? This. But in the meantime, it perplexed us it still perplexes us. We still talk about it, and we still don't know what to make of it.
I hope you go back and figure out what the planetary alignment was and when is going to be the next one, and I hope it's within your lifetime.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Every now and then we take a shot. We just take a shot and we try randomly to do things. We don't know.
Yeah.
If it cycles through, let's say, and the alignment was a specific way that night, how do we know that it just doesn't cycle through differently? My producer, for my show is, science degree, everything really logical, and was like, well, it could be this, and this. I've even spoke to an astrophysicist one time, and I'm just like, hey, what's your take on this? It's not for lack of trying to find out from a scientific standpoint, trying to find out logically speaking. It's just one of those things that, hey, it happened. I like to share it because I think it's a pretty incredible thing. Like I say, could it have happened on any device? Yeah, I think it could have. I mean, if it's meant to be, it'll be. I just think that maybe it's just a matter, could it have been how I had the settings on the devices? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, possibly. But like I said, we've tried to recreate it, just to no avail.
I really hope you get to recreate it at some point.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And if you do, I hope you tell me about it because I'm really curious.
Oh, yes. Oh, believe me, I'll be all over the place. But okay, we tried it. It worked.
Yeah.
It's just something we've never been able to get back to. And it's just such a shame because there's that part of me that just wants to help. And how do you help? So, it's not like you have maybe like a spirit who's looking and lost and wants to go home, and they're easier to work with. How do you work with someone that, like, I just don't believe it was. I don't believe I was dealing with grounded spirits. I truly think, I don't know. It's perplexing. I don't know.
It doesn't sound like there were spirits. It sounds like they were caught someplace, and that's amazing.
It does. It does sound. We felt that way as well, just because they kept saying we're lost. But I mean, any lost soul will tell you that. But they're just saying it's all black. We can't see anything. Like I was gearing up to ask them, "What's the last thing that you remember?" And then it cut. We didn't change anything. So whatever it was in the ether at that time, or maybe it cut because maybe they ended up going back through whatever it is they came out from.
Now, do you know the nationality or roughly the time period? You said you thought it was maybe from the 50s?
Wartime. Well, I always make the reference because of the way they were talking to, like an old 50s detective movie sort of.
And
like
then the sound of the
American.
propellers,
Yeah,
American. Okay.
Definitely American. I'm going to take a stab at one of the wars, if I had to guess, because of again, I'm stereotyping because of the voices, and I figured, I tapped into some 50s movie or something, war movie, but I didn't. So World War II is what I would guess at, someplace over the Pacific. I don't think it would have been World War One. But I mean, they had planes then too, but it just sounded like they were enclosed as well. So I don't know. It's just an anomaly to me. It's one of those things that I will probably spend decades, if I have decades on my side, to continue to research and, eventually maybe just have the recording analyzed and see.
Did you ever look up the name?
I think it's in the recording. It's just I wrote it down. I have notes that are with it because we go through all the notes, all the recordings over and over to and try to filter it out. So it's probably in the notes, and it must have been jumbled because I would have. Major blah blah blah. I was like, okay, because we would have. I mean, the coordinates were clear, but there was only 2 out of the 3. And it was somewhere over the Pacific. That's all we know. Somewhere.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's, now you're going to get me back on it. I'm going to be out like hunting down my notes. And I've moved. So that could be like a bit of a,
like where is everything?
Job.
Yeah.
I know.
You might be on a new mission now.
I know, but the mission is going to be just to find all my papers because my office is still, and it's completely upside down because we haven't been here very long.
Yeah. So do you have any ideas as to why some people like yourself have so many experiences with pretty much everything, extraterrestrials, like anything, and then people like me, I don't really have a lot of experiences. Do you have a take on why that would happen?
Many. Well, I really believe that people who experience or who are in the paranormal will either be experiencers and vice versa. I also think maybe there's a possibility that some experiences get mixed up. I know at least half the people that I have assisted over the last couple of decades have also had extraterrestrial experiences. So for me, I remember having ET experiences, and I do believe they're generational because my grandfather had them, my mother had them, and my father also. I believe that this has been since childhood. So I also know I had an attachment. But now I question it because it's all started resurfacing again for me with being an experiencer and a contactee over the course of the last probably 3 years. And I started researching that and what experiencers and contactees had to say, or abductees. And they're really, really similar. I mean, the paranormal people will tell you, no, it's a demon. Some people say, oh, this is demonic stuff. Ufologists will say, no, this is extraterrestrial stuff. There are people who are right in the middle saying, no, they're both very separate. So it's hard for me, at that point to determine what came first.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that they do go hand in hand one way or another. A lot of people in either field will branch out into the other field. We branch out into cryptozoology. We branch out into, anything different levels of high strangeness. That's just something that we do. And I pretty much evolved and went the other way. And I say evolved for me. I'm not saying this is for everybody. The only way you're going to evolve is doing this. Please don't take it that way. For me, I think I needed to do that because there was a whole other part of my existence and my life that this was happening. And somehow I just wasn't recognizing it, or I'd forgotten it, but I realized that I had a pretty good link because, I look at all these people doing what are called CE5s. They go out there and meditate and call it for an experience. I just put it in my mind. I said, okay, I think I'm ready to start again. Just like that. And literally, within a week or so later, give or take, this big white flash of light shot through the bedroom and bounced right back out. Now, the manor house is very high up. They're very high up. And I tested everything with lights, believe me, because I'm one of those people. Yeah. and I looked, I'm like, reflections, okay, cars, they couldn't reach up there. There's just no way. And this was like a beam of light that went in. Started researching that. Yes, this is a thing. One night I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I'm just laying there, and I look, and I'm going, what the hell? Is that what I think it is? And it was like it was like a 4-foot gray right in front of me, and I could see the silhouette, because he was in front of the window. Mm-hmm. And then I got a little closer. I could see the lens because it was a reflection from the eyes. And I just sat there going, all I could come up with, seriously, I was stunned. I went, nope. I just rolled over. I'm like, I'm not doing this right now. And that was it. And when I peeked back over, it was just gone. Very respectful, and not a problem. There have been so many experiences like that. And it just confirms anybody that I've spoken to or who is really versed in the field of ufology and abductions and experiences, and they're like, yes, because they are on an average respectful, and it's not like that for everybody. I've interviewed tons of people who have really horrific experiences. I've interviewed people who said, no, it was just really amazing. They get downloads. I get downloads. I would wake up sometimes and have hands on the back of my head. And, taking information, giving information. If I was researching things, all of a sudden I'm doing something completely different. And I'm going, how the hell did I get here? And realize it was something I was just eventually, I had, maybe a case coming, or I had something coming up and it pertained to it. It's just bizarre how it works, And
then you're being prepared for whatever it was coming, and you didn't even know that was coming.
No clue. No clue. So I think a lot of people have experiences. I just, some people can be aware of those experiences. Some people aren't allowed to be aware of those experiences. It could be because of something that's coming in their lives that we're not made privy to. It could just be that maybe that individual didn't handle it very well. Because the first time I ever had somebody touch me before I actually said, okay, I'm ready, I just remember saying, touch me and I'll break your arm.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. And then everything just stopped. Like at that point, because I'm just like, like boundaries, bad touch. Like, don't touch me. Yeah. It was really, it took me a while to realize, and I'm pretty fearless. I deal with all kinds of crazy stuff, but it took me a while to realize that this was okay. That this wasn't like a bad thing in my case. Mm-hmm. And when I embraced it, it opened up a whole other world for me, a whole other world. So you just see them. I'd be driving, and I'd say, where are you? All of a sudden I'd see a flash in the sky. It went, I'd be, okay, thank you. Wow. Things like that. I've seen all kinds of crazy things. Like, and I'm thinking, how did I not notice this before? It's like your eyes open up and it's just like, you just see things like through a different pair of glasses, But meanwhile, it's probably been going on all along.
And you just didn't notice.
No, life is busy. I always say that even with, spirits trying to get your attention. I think we're conditioned in this life. We work hard. You come home from work. If you have a family, you take care of your family, you do homework, you make dinner, you go to soccer, whatever the case may be. You get up the next day, the process starts again. If you leave a glass on the table and you come home and it's moved, are you going to say to yourself, that's right, I forgot to put that away? Or are you going to say, that thing's moved? 9 times out of 10 people say, I forgot to put that away. They just don't recognize the signs. Or you don't acknowledge it, maybe. That's all. Life just keeps us too busy to look at the obvious. And there's a whole other world going on around us.
When I first started the show, I used to think paranormal was just ghosts. And then I soon learned that no, it's extraterrestrials, it's dimensional,
Everything.
it's just pretty much anything weird. So in the beginning, people would message me and say, oh, I had an extraterrestrial experience. I'm like, sorry, it's paranormal, I only want ghosts. Now I want these people because I realize, no, I mean, these people are willing to want to discuss their experiences. So it's funny how my perspective has changed.
But that's what I'm talking about with evolution, where we evolve as we become more aware. And I think some of it, like I said, for me, a lot was mindset. And I do have a degree of fear at first. And I realized this has been a part of my life since I was a child. I remember now, it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I used to see crafts all like pretty regularly, I remember stories of my grandfather, my mother, my father telling me stories, my mother telling me other stories. I'm thinking, your contactee, they've had an experience, it's the end of it that they're aware of, but she got into more details with me. And I was like, wow, that is crazy. We're all negative blood types too, which, like my mother and father, when they met back in the day, the doctor would say, you might have had like maybe 8% of the world population back then. I'm aging myself a bit, but and he said, how did you two find each other? Like, especially here on this side of the world, because there are different parts of the world, in Europe and like Scotland and the Basque area of southern France, and high concentrations of negative blood types. And that's it. We all are. And as you start researching more to that, well, then that branches out into, well, where did the negative blood type come from?
Yeah.
And 30,000 years ago, you had many people have brown hair, brown eyes. That's the end of it. So where did all the blue hair, red hair, blue-eyed and green eyes, especially hazel eyes, all these different color hair, because my actual real hair is it's got a really red highlights, but orangey red highlights.
Okay.
So that's, but I do have, Scotland and
me too,
and England and everything. Yeah. In the bloodline. So like, okay, well, that's passed down, that's cool. But where did it come from? There's a lot of different theories with that as well. So I don't know, a generational, that means that this has been going on throughout my ancestry.
That's amazing. So now, we know that you have abilities. That also you have other family members as well that have
many.
Yeah.
But again, that's one of those things that people who have had contact and who are experiencers have come back saying, "I just have all these abilities now." So for us, if it's generational, because on both sides of my family, I would see it. At first, I thought it was just my mom's side because they would talk about it all the time. My father's side is very quiet about it. And my father's later, as he got older, he says, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. This would happen. I'm like, you made me think I was crazy as a child. What the heck is this about? And he goes, I still like talking about it. His sister still doesn't talk about it. It's just like, I'm like, all right, we'll go with that.
Well, there was a time you didn't discuss it. I mean, I have my mother comes from a very large family. There's 13 siblings, so I have a lot of cousins. Lots of
Yeah.
cousins. And quite a few years ago, I had a family member. We were talking when Messenger was out, way before Facebook and everything. And we used to chat all the time. And he had a drinking problem. Come to find out, once he knew that what I was into, he says, Kat, I need to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He says, I see ghosts. I'm crazy. And I'm like, oh, no, you're not. It runs in the family. He goes, what? He didn't know. And I think his coping mechanism was to drink, to try and
Family secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But family members, my mom was always open about it. I had a couple other family members who were open about it too. But so when you start seeing that your family, like you're not the only one in the family, he's just like, oh my God, I had no idea. So he lives in a different province than everybody else did. But back in the day, you just didn't discuss stuff like that. But my mom was always the type that she was a trailblazer. She was very advanced for the time that she was in. She would just tell people, speak her mind when women shouldn't have spoken their minds.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She went to an
Yeah.
all-girls Catholic school, and she would ask questions to the nuns, and she would get in trouble because she was asking questions. She's like, yeah, but I'm curious. I would have known. You're not telling me.
No, it's true. But that's part of the conditioning, I think, just what you're mentioning. Religion teaches you the difference between, again, religion and spirituality. A lot of people think, well, religion is spirituality. So some of it, but a lot of other different types of religion are more conditioning. You can talk about this, or you can't talk about this. There are amalgamations of many other ancient cultures and belief systems, which is great because you're bringing things together with different ranges of beliefs, and you can get into the Old Testament, New Testament. It's all there. It all talked about, paranormal and stuff that was left out, like the Book of Enoch, and there's tons and tons and tons of stuff that goes back, to ancient parts of religion. You can see old paintings of religious figures that we all know and love with UFOs in there that go back hundreds of years, so it's kind of like, well, all right, and I think the Vatican even has a head of an extraterrestrial, so they all know, this is a lot of information that we've been suppressed, like we've not been allowed to know. Is it for our own good, or is it because, the unknown? There are many different reasons, I'm sure. But it's like somewhere along the line, we have the technology where we can see things. Everybody's got one of these now, you know? And I think this part of the reasons that maybe disclosure is slowing to be, the United States is probably one of the last people to really get on board with disclosure. There are countries in the world like, France and Brazil, they're like right in there. Here's a center, or something goes on, report it. France, okay, we saw a UFO here. They report it. Like it's very, very different throughout the world as to how, the information was put out there for the common person. But now people are seeing them. And you can't just say, no, you didn't, because the same information they use on these phones to track us is some of the same stuff that's giving us the ability to capture, as close to what's evidence. You can see something flying in the sky. It looks like a UFO, shaped like a UFO, doesn't mean it's something that's unexplained. It could just mean that it's reverse engineered. There's a lot of things to factor in, but at least dialogue is opening up with it, and it's a start.
So many people all the time say that we're not meant to know for our protection, and I keep saying, how do we know it's for our protection? Maybe it's to protect the other entities, because humans, when we're afraid or we don't know, we can be very destructive. We can kill off so much. So maybe we're not meant to know because we're protecting the other species, and maybe we're the ones that everybody else fears, and that's why we're being suppressed. We don't know.
Well, maybe we're the prison planet. That's also another
that's
theory.
True. Yeah.
Let's just throw the problem kids, take them and put them on this planet and let them just do their thing together.
Yeah.
Here we talk about throw them all in an island. Maybe that's kind of what they were thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many theories, like, Greys are us in the future. Everybody also assumes that these things come from different galaxies and the stars. They don't all come from there. They come from our planets. They've been here, like we're just the third or fourth round of civilization on this planet. And a lot of that was kept from us as well due to conditioning of the religious belief system, that many people are a part of. Oh no, 2,000 years ago. No, we're finding things that are 200, 300 million years old, if not more, billion, you can't keep that a secret. Things things are coming up out of the ocean. People, with our technology, we're seeing things that are under the ocean, old civilizations. We have two continents that we've located that are under the water. There's just you just can't keep hiding it and suppressing it. There's petroglyphs everywhere. There's monuments from ancient civilizations everywhere that clearly show other civilizations. The Hopi talked about, the ant people, big heads and looked like ants with the big eyes that lived underground that helped them. The Brazilian people of South America will tell you that they were helped by reptilian races. Go to South America and look at all the ancient monuments. They're all to reptilian races. They come out of our waters. They come out of the oceans. People see these things come out of the oceans. Are there bases under there? For sure. Are there just, civilizations that can exist under the water? Absolutely. I think we're just, I feel like in a way like we're the new kids on the block, and we're just simple because we're just never allowed to evolve at our own pace,
I've said so many times that the thing that fascinates me the most about the paranormal and every aspect of the paranormal is everybody, every culture, doesn't matter your religion, everyone has had these experiences. So there has to be something to it. If the entire globe, every culture has had these same creatures or experiences. They might call them by a different name, but they're pretty much the same creature. And just how can you just turn a blind eye to that?
I agree with you 100%. There's so many similarities. I think it's a matter of figuring out what is it. Do we have a lost soul that's wandering around, or are we dealing with as my producer would say, a dimensional bleed through? Because sometimes people will report seeing a loved one or themselves and they look different. And, you're taught to think, well, that's a mimic. That's not really your loved one. How do we know we're not just traversing or, just having experiences dimensionally? Because allegedly we live simultaneous lives, which could be dimensionally speaking. How do we know we're not getting a glimpse of one of our loved ones or an individual just coming through momentarily? And I mean, don't get me wrong, you have your replays, you have all of that. There's full explanations for it. I'm just saying it's another possibility out of probably several. And you just really have to open your mind to it. It can be mind-bending when you think this is too many. Just want a generic,
sensory overload, because there's so many possibilities.
There is a lot of possibilities, and there are a lot of people out there who are, researching and getting to the field. And I do know media has a way of shifting things, so you're not getting everything that you're supposed to be getting with respects to information. And a lot of people are, I say that, the couch investigators, because it's all they have. They may not have something in their community, and they look up to the people who they see on television. So I always say, you see me on television, I've been doing it for 20 years, but I don't believe everything is a demon. I give you 5 answers to every question. They're going to go for the dramatic one every time, and I don't blame them. This is what they do. This is
entertainment.
What they do. I don't have, I don't have creative control. I don't get to decide what is there. All I can do is educate and give every viable answer that I have, and that's all I can do. That's why I'm just like, no, I don't believe that all the time. I'm pretty logical, and it's hard because when I work with somebody and say, well, you're projecting energy. And they're just like, what? So I try to be very gentle, and I'll send a link to psychokinesis. I just emailed it off. I go, if you see yourself in here, can you maybe just give some thought and just say, do you see yourself in here? Is this a possibility? Because I'm not that person. I don't know 100% that this is what you're doing. I just know that there's nothing, it's not leaning towards anything else. right? And psychokinesis, people, just so you know, doors will open and close, footsteps, cupboard doors open up. It's like poltergeist activity, projection of energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're amazing creatures. We are amazing. We
And we
can
don't
do
know it.
amazing things. No, I think
Yeah.
it's easier for some people to think there's something really aggressive in the house than it is for them to wrap their head around the fact that they're an incredible being with a powerful essence that can do all of this amazing stuff.
Yeah, when people say I have moved like 5 times in the past year and it follows me, it's like, are you sure it's following you and it's not coming from you? And they're like,
That's it.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's following me. It's attached. How do I get rid of it? You got to do
Yeah.
more research. You got to do a little bit more soul searching. Talk to
Yeah.
family members. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you said, it's not all demons.
It's not. It's not. And an aggressive spirit can do, just as much damage, as anything otherworldly.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when you start getting into the mix, you asked about paranormal and extraterrestrials, you would be surprised just how similar the experiences are.
Yep.
So it's really hard to say one way or another. I had somebody on my show who basically said, yeah, I had experiences with extraterrestrials and they growled at him. I'm like, come on. And it goes, I kid you not. I'm like, really? And I think it was a white or a tall gray. It goes, and it growled at me. I'm just like, who knew? I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's always a learning experience,
Yeah.
as you know, when guests come on and you get this dialogue going. And I'm like, I had absolutely no idea that they could growl. But why not? We can growl, I suppose, So I'm like, okay. But for me, in the line of work that I was primarily doing, okay, you heard a growl. And then I come on site and then, there's photographs being captured by, the family members of, well, this is a gray. Yep, that sure and heck is. So it's just like, but you're not finding anything else.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I wonder if that's what was growling. Now I think back and go, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we're only looking at half the equation.
I have some friends who have a podcast, not paranormal, but they like to have me on for the Halloween special.
Yeah.
And they were totally flabbergasted when I told them, because, somebody's having an experience that the cupboard doors are slamming and they automatically think it's demonic. And I'm like, no, it's not necessarily demonic. It could be the entity is trying to contact you. They're so frustrated. I said,
Yes.
And they're like, what? I said, well, how do you like it if you're talking to me and I'm totally ignoring you and you're going to be like trying to like get my attention, and you might start throwing things because you're getting pissed because I can see you, I can
true.
hear you, but I'm totally ignoring you. It's the same thing for some spirits. I mean, they're frustrated. They want to communicate so badly, and you're just not either able to, or you're just ignoring them for whatever reason, and they're frustrated. So it's not always demons. And they were totally like, oh, I had no idea.
That's true. I think people need to, if you're recognizing what's going on, it's definitely a consideration. If you have a spirit individual, for example, who doesn't know they passed on, and they're kind of wondering, why are you sitting in my chair? I'm sitting here, or I was going to sit there, or why are you in this room? Do you not see me in here? I'm being cordial. You're not responding to me. I have seen hauntings, quotations, completely stop just because I said, just explain to them, I can't see you. I'm sorry. You're deceased. We're happy that you're here. We're not going to ruin the house. We're changing things, or whatever the case may be. We love the house too. And sometimes just having him do dialogue and say, well, Fred here, for example, he likes to sit here by the window at this time because he used to watch a show or he used to read a book. And the family's like, okay, so during this time, nobody comes in the room and bothers Fred. That's it. Everything goes quiet.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. It's amazing.
And people
Absolutely
who say they're skeptics and they don't believe in this stuff. I mean, how can you not?
Oh my God. There's so many stories of spirit individuals being active parts of the family. There was one story. I mean, it was a family I worked with. Someone was breaking into the house, and the spirits not only notified the family, but they basically spooked the intruder to the point where he went out.
That's amazing.
Totally. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's like active, fires starting, spirits wake the family up.
Yep.
Or they rile up the animals.
Yeah.
to wake the family up. Like there's just a lot going on. You're still, it's your essence. It doesn't change who you are. If you're not a nice person in life, you're not going to be necessarily a nice spirit. You're still going to be ornery if you're stuck, you know.
Yeah.
If you're a nice person, that doesn't change. All those attributes, the subconscious, everything remains within the essence, not the physical. Right?
The listeners have heard this several times, but when we lived in Alberta, the gentleman had passed. So we bought the house from this elderly lady. She was a widow, but her husband was still in the house. And I would wake up to, it was an old thermostat, so it's not something you could program through your phone or anything like that. You physically had to touch the switch. Yeah. And every night I would wake up and it was stifling because the heat was cranked. And at first I thought it was the kids. But their bedroom, I sleep with my bedroom door open. They sleep with theirs closed. And when they open it, I can hear it. I'm a light sleeper. I would have heard something, but I still say, hey, did you guys get up and turn up the heat? Because it's not cool. Yeah. You're like, you don't pay for the hydro.
And elderly people are always cold.
Yep. So then they said, no, it's not me. So what I did was I took a bunch of pieces of paper and I put it on the floor by the wall. And I made sure that it was far enough that somebody couldn't reach over the papers. They actually had to walk on the papers. So then the next day I would know somebody walked on it. Mm-hmm. The heat turned on in the middle of the night, and I looked down, and the papers are undisturbed. Like nothing's been walked on it, nothing. So I just kind of chuckled and said, "Okay, this has to stop. You're not paying for the hydro. You're not hurting anybody. You're welcome to stay here." But my husband didn't want him to stay because he thinks that no, all ghosts need to go. But I told him, I said, if you want to stay here, that's fine, but you don't pay for the hydro, and you need to turn this off, or I will get rid of you. And it stopped.
Yeah. See, it goes to show it's just communication. Probably just so grateful that somebody was communicating because they just go through life the way they always went through life.
Yeah. And apparently he was a big gardener. That our property was big for the size of the town that we're in, and he had at one point 3 or 4 gardens. And my husband has a green thumb. I have a black thumb of death when it comes to plants. But my husband, he was putting in plants and gardens and everything, so he probably saw that because it was always the original family that lived in the house. Nobody else lived there. And then we moved in, and he's probably like, what the hell are you doing in my house type thing. But he saw that we had a family. He had raised his family in that house. My husband's a gardener, green thumb and plants and all that. So
Right.
But it was really interesting as soon as you acknowledge them.
Yes, but sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. So I always tell people, be careful. You never know what you're actually dealing with. There's a lot of things out there also that can mimic, something gentle. And then as soon as you say things like, oh, you can stay, I've seen it go the other way. It just goes completely amok. So it is really hard. It's really tough to gauge it.
Be careful what you wish
signs, for. Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing too. I think I've talked about this a lot myself, is grieving. I think when people grieve, we put ourselves in a different mindset. Mm-hmm. You want those signs. You may not be a big believer in the paranormal, for example, but you still want signs from your loved ones. Well, there are things out there that prey on people like that. I know because I have worked with so many families over the years who have fallen prey to that. They just so desperately want a sign, and they invite it in. They don't even realize it. And they start thinking, oh, look, the light's going. And you're just like, oh, hey, and they think they're communicating with their loved ones, and then things start amping up. Mm-hmm. But they just open themselves up with their mindset. They're like, this is okay. But really, it's not. Your loved one will always give you gentle signs. They'll never do anything to scare you. Yep. It will usually be really pleasant smells or certain birds or flowers or things like that. I mean, they're going to be gentle. I had a friend who used to call me the same time every day. The phone would ring same time every day. And then I'd pick it up and there'd never be anybody there.
There are signs and we don't even know it half the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, birds are a really big one. Butterflies, dragonflies. I've experienced many of those myself. I've worked with many people who've had those same sort of experiences. They're pretty traditional. And a lot of these things, if you just look it up now, you get the representation of what they are. Look for synchronicities as well. Like if I had, my mother notorious for synchronicities, so many different things, going on. And I was like, all right. And it all follows suit. And then you get this amazing number that comes up. I go look it up. It's like, all right. And it falls in suit with everything else that's been happening in that day. See, we don't pay attention. The universe will give you all kinds of synchronicities. Like last time I went up to visit her, there was a truck on the road, a transport truck. And I looked up and there was my maiden name, just spelled one digit off. I was just like, okay, never seen it before, but my mother's last name, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just little things that once you start to recognize synchronicities, you will see them everywhere and they will unfold into a story for your day or an event, anything that you're meant to be doing. Might even be something as simple as call this person. Mm-hmm. They're in a bad way. They need you, or you're going to move here. You're going to do something, and you start seeing everything that pertains to maybe the representation of the area you're supposed to be in, or the name of the area you're supposed to be in. It is craziness, but you know what? It is so much fun.
Agreed. Well, I think that would be a good spot to end the episode. Yeah. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Pleasure.
It really means a lot to me that you're helping me celebrate my 100th episode. And it
means a lot to me to be here. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So before we go, if you could tell the listeners where they could find you.
Well, you can pretty much find me everywhere. I'm not a big communicator on social media, just because of the fact I just get too much. And I apologize for that. I'm not trying to be mean. I just can't keep up with it. MichelleDesrochers.com is a good place to go look for me. Wednesday nights and Thursday nights, the radio show, which is The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano on United Public Radio Network. And it's 9 p.m. Eastern on both those nights. And so for those who I get a lot of questions, why don't we see you on TV? Well, you can see me right here. How about that? So that's probably the best way.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Good. And listeners, as always, I'll have the links in the show notes so it'll be easier for you to find. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Much love and respect to you. You take care.
And you as well.
Thank you. Folks, that was Michelle Desrochers. I hope you enjoyed listening to her as much as I enjoyed chatting with her. She has so much paranormal knowledge, and I'm so happy she was able to make time for my 100th episode. Now, let's hear what Jon Mallard has to share with us in regards to his recent near-death experience and other topics. Hello, Jon. Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast 100th episode.
My little girl's all grown up.
She's all grown up.
100 episodes later.
Yep.
Do you know you're among the top 25? I think it was 23% of podcasts, just based on the fact that you've got past 100 episodes.
Really?
Yeah. Did you know that
No.
only a very small percentage of podcasts keep going after the first 3 years?
I did not know this.
Did you know that there are more podcasts that aren't no longer man, so to speak, or woman, in your case, or no longer peopled, as Mr. Trudeau would say, people-kind is no longer making them happen. There's more dead podcasts, or dead space, we'll say, than there is live podcasts now in Canada. Did you know that?
I did not. Wow.
So to your fans and to you, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
You are among a small number of people who continue to do this through hell or high water, no matter how hard things are, no matter how sick you are,
yep,
no matter how tired you are, doesn't matter, you keep doing it. And I'm not surprised. That's my little girl there.
Thank you so much. I mean, I remember when I asked you, Jon, I'm thinking of starting our podcast, and should I? And we were talking about this just a couple of minutes ago before recording, and you said, 3 questions. Is it going to harm anyone? And I said, no. Is it going to help anyone? And I said, well, I hope so. And then you said, well, why wouldn't you? Then I'm like, well, okay, then. It was pretty much a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah. And I can remember the first time I had you on, actually. It was
yep.
My friend Kevin St. Pierre told me about you.
Yep.
And I met Kevin at a convention here in St. John's, and he said, yeah, I got to hook you up with Kat Ward. She loves weird shit. So it's like, okay. And through the jigs and the reels, it was, such a Newfoundland expression that time. Through the jigs and the reels, I'll have to go Newfie on you every now and then.
That's okay.
It made complete sense to have you on for the Mother's Day special.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of people don't know is I do believe Kat is a mom.
I am. Two adults now, well, 19 and 22. But yeah, and on that episode, I was with Melissa. Oh, I don't remember her last name. She moved to Ireland since.
Oh, no, I figured her name too. She's such a sweetheart, though.
If you're listening, Melissa, I'm so sorry.
She's the one who wrote the Everything ghost hunting book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to look that up now.
Oh, my God, not Coates. What's her last name? You know what? I think she got married.
Is it Melissa Martin Elise?
Yes.
Yes.
Melissa Martin Ellis.
Or Ellis, yes, sorry. Yes.
Yes, there you go.
So
my
hello,
God.
Melissa, if you're listening.
How long ago was that, right?
Oh, my God. Yeah, I know.
I was so deeply into ghost hunting at the time that getting her on the show was a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that, I really, really wanted to have her on. But then it was also the time that I was talking to Kevin. He was like, man, you got to get Kat on. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do a double header. They're both moms. They're both ladies. Screw it. I'll do double header. And I've never done another one since.
Oh, wow.
It was an interesting thing for you. I don't do double episodes anymore.
Huh.
And the reason why is because I really feel like every episode should belong to the person. Yep. And, it doesn't surprise me in the least. Back then, though, it was kind of like, I really want to have her on. I was impatient on my part. but anyway, what a wonderful conversation. And then a few weeks later, I want to start my podcast. I get the question, and it's, okay, cool. Well, what are you going to name it?
Yes, and thankful to you. You are the one that named this baby.
Oddly, it's weird, isn't it, how we're all connected? And the podcasting community is large now, bigger than it ever was. But there are little pockets and niches like us who exist who can message each other anytime. I still get messages from Jim Mallard, of all people. I still get randomly every few months, hey, man, how are you? It still happens. So it's... I
still chat with Jim daily a lot of time, you know. Great. Another guy who helped me with the podcast too. And and I have to say, when I first started, you gave me lots of advice, but one of them was because Jim Mallard helped you with your show, Odd to Newfoundland. He helped you out, and he didn't want anything in return. And you said, well, someday I'm going to return the favor to somebody else. And you did that with me.
Pay it forward.
And then you said, pay it forward. Yeah, you said, pay it forward if ever you can. Make sure it's someone you believe in. And I met my buddy Tommy Cullum, that you were on I show over in the UK. I was on his show last year, and he had only been doing it for 2 months. So at the end of the interview, when he told me that, I thought, 2 months, are you kidding me? He was doing great. And so I've been sending him guests, introducing him to other people. So I've paid it forward. And I told him, I said, because I believe in your show. I really love his content. He's a great guy. So, and he calls me his paranormal sister. I call him his paranormal brother. And yeah, people like you, we might not talk to each other for the longest time, but then we can pick up the conversation like it's only been a couple of days.
And it's interesting because so much goes on in our lives. And it's just, my life is one that's very bizarre and strange and weird anyway. Mm-hmm. The things I do for a living, the hobbies I have. I'm in Florida right now.
Yep.
Okay. With my in-laws, my wife, and my 2 children. My foster kid's flying down in a few days.
Wow.
Come be with us for a week too, because before we got him, we had this all booked. So we actually added an extra week to our vacation. This is a 3-week vacation for me. Oh, nice. And by the way, I pre-recorded an episode of the Odd Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast to come out May 1st because I'm not going to be home on May 3rd.
Nice.
So I try my best not to miss too much. I have been taking breaks here now, and most of it's health related,
Yeah.
Once again, I'm not 100% still even to now, but I'm good enough to go do the things I want to do. And I'm here now, beautiful, by the pool here in Florida. Have a little look-see over here. There's the hot tub in the pool.
Yeah.
It's all in the dark now. The family are all inside, sleeping, looking out the window, going, what the hell's he doing out there now? And it's just, my life is so all over the place. You really got to get specific with questions with me nowadays.
It's okay.
Because if I go off on a tangent, I could be off talking about foster care 1 minute, talking about electronic voice phenomena the next. then talking about professional wrestling.
Well,
So
because you're all of those. I mean, you've done professional wrestling. You know, I call you an EVP specialist because you have a really good ear when it comes to EVPs. I don't hear shit. Pardon my French. I have a real hard time hearing things, picking things out. But you have a really good ear for that.
I think it comes from, to be honest with you, and this might sound a little strange, but actually, I think that comes from wrestling. One of the things when you're in the ring, and I know it's a lost art now, but in professional wrestling, there's two things. Really, first off, there's reading the crowd and hearing through the crowd. Usually when you're surrounded by 1,000 people, they're all cheering, all you hear is this.
Yeah.
You don't hear any real one or two things. But over the years, I got the ability to hear people, who are closer to the ringside saying what they want to say, and using that as an opportunity to interact with them. So, for instance, if I heard, "Yeah, kick him in the guts," like through all the crowd,
Yeah.
I'd go, "Oh yeah," and then I kick him in the guts, and then that person would go, "Oh, we did it, yay!"
And the crowd goes wild. Yeah.
And the crowd goes, "Well," or that one person.
Well, yeah.
So there's that, and then there's the other part of it too, where, and once again, I'll say it again, it's a lost art calling a professional wrestling match. Most people don't do it anymore. They plan their matches from start to beginning. But when I'm in the ring, it's I usually call my match while I'm in there. So I got to have really good listening skills and the ability to talk with my mouth looking kind of like this, so you can hear on saying nothing's moving, and it's not easy for people to hear and do. Then there's the other part of it too, where I'm in Newfoundland. Very few bands come here. I never ruined my ears as a young child at all. Like, I got good hearing, I really do, and it's part of that EVP research. I mean, unfortunately, I've spent more time in my life lying down with a pair of headphones on, listening to nothing, than I probably spent doing anything else. So it's interesting. I think I clocked myself one time for an investigation I did over the course of 3 weeks, because I was the kind of guy who liked to go back to a place 3 or 4 times.
It's important to go back.
Well, I mean, people don't do it. And not only that, people can barely get into places now because of COVID too. Even now, COVID's an issue. And I mean, we're talking something that's been going on now for almost 4 years.
I know, it's wild.
It's crazy, but I'm glad it happened in a lot of ways, because I think COVID really got people who aren't truly at this for passionate reasons, just got them onto other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
If you're not 100% dedicated to something, like, the reality of it is right now, I sold my ghost hunting gear a few months back.
Did you really?
Every single piece of it.
Wow.
And I took it and I put it up and I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to record anymore. I'm not going to be doing this anymore. I want to focus on podcast and maybe something else. And this is even before wrestling came back into my life again. But anyway, the objective for me was I can't part ways with something that's still in my closet. It has to come out. It has to be given to the next generation. Like, I sold 3 or 4 spirit boxes, a bunch of recorders, a Rodave diode. Oh my God, everything I had. And the guy who bought it for me was going to start a show. And I was like, man, I can't think of a better person to give it to. Here, if you got any questions, let me know. It's a lot of work. Good luck. And he took it and went on. And I felt a little sad. But at the same time, I also felt like, okay, yeah, no, this is a good chapter. It's only a chapter in your life. It's time to turn the page on it. And the podcast is something I want to keep till I can't do it anymore. So my mission is to have that there. And there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, the recent health scare a few years ago. I should be dead, realistically. I shouldn't be alive. I think it's important to have a record there for my kids.
Yeah.
So they can hear my voice anytime they want. My little guys can listen to me talk about monsters and goblins and weird stuff anytime, anywhere. I think that's a pretty powerful motivator. And there's also the other part of it too, where professional wrestling has come back into my life again now.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, so time for me to tell you all about it then. Why not?
Yes.
So this is pretty interesting. So an interesting thing happens when you almost die and you're almost 40. Your midlife crisis happens a little earlier.
Yeah.
A few friends of mine, we were together chatting, and he goes, I really miss wrestling. I was like, yeah, me too, man. To be honest with you, after this health scare, I'm feeling like I want to have one more run. And there are other promotions going on here, but like my overall feeling is that they're either run by people who aren't uh, dedicated to wrestling as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're the type of people who will purposely not talk about what happened before to show everything's new, or they're run by people who have the best of intentions but just don't have the resources to make things the way they should be, like at a certain level. Newfoundland is not known for its professional wrestling, and I think that is a travesty, absolute travesty. There are people who are in my province right now who are so ridiculously talented, who are overlooked completely because they are in Newfoundland. No other reason why. They're wrestling in Quebec, they'd be noticed.
Oh, yeah, Quebec's
So
big for years.
massive for wrestling big. So me and my three friends are sitting around. We look at each other and say, wait now, we're all in, we're not in horrible shape. We all kind of laughed. We're going to have to get in shape. Yeah. We know. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good, guys. I don't feel like I can go out and wrestle a 5-star match or anything, but I don't feel like I can go out there and embarrass myself either.
Hmm.
And it was kind of like we all realized, wow, like this is a part of us that kind of got taken away because we all became parents. We all became dedicated to other things. And it's like, well, fuck it. What if we went and bought a ring?
And you
So
did.
the ring arrives in 2 weeks.
That's
Took
exciting.
6 months to get 6 months to get to here. It's the first ever 20 by 20 professional wrestling ring to ever come to Newfoundland,
That's amazing.
which is pretty cool. We also pulled our money together and got a nice big entranceway, so we're going to look really professional. We put stuff off. And I'm doing something I always love to do, which is be creative. I'm writing storylines for wrestlers now that are years in the making. So that's what I'm doing right now. I've taken my author abilities now that I use for, writing my own book, New EVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland, and put it towards creating moments and memories and stories. And I'm really, really excited to get back to that again. It's something I did before for a short period. I never really got a chance to bring it to fruition. But my ideas are very good when it comes to wrestling. And I'm super excited to see just people's eyes light up when they read my stuff and they go, oh, yeah, I can see me doing that for a year. Yeah, let's do it.
You
So-
might put Newfoundland on the map for wrestling.
I think Newfoundland is on the map. It's just not. Unfortunately, a lot of maps don't even have Newfoundland on it. Let's just be honest. They forget us. Newfoundland is like the little bastard stepchild that nobody wanted. Last one to join Confederation. Yeah, we'll take these idiots, whatever. And like, I don't know. I've always had this feeling like Newfoundland's always been just, third world country in Canada because it doesn't have anything. Like, I'm sorry, but like I went to Moncton, okay, not long
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
And
My
the worst
my
streaks in
hometown.
Moncton, look better than Newfoundland.
Really?
Our harbor front is gorgeous,
Yeah.
and a lot of downtown heritage sites are beautiful. But for the most part, our city is just, it makes no sense. If you ever gone to Newfoundland and drove around, you'd be so confused. I still can't find my way around. It's just,
And you're
I look
from
at
there.
Newfoundland. I know. I'm horrible with direction anyway, though, Kat. I'm a type A personality. Like, you can tell me what to get you at Walmart 100 times, unless you write it down. Ain't gonna happen.
With directions.
But I really feel like Newfoundland's always been kind of left out in a lot of ways, and it's part of the culture too. And it's felt very deeply. So when I tell people, no, you can be a best-selling author, just like me. You can have an award-winning podcast, just like me. You can be a professional heavyweight champion, just like me. You can have 11 foster kids, just like me. You can do all these great things. It's just the culture can't even absorb it because it's just this. What's the word I'm looking here for? It feels like the world's a little bit more hopeless since this COVID thing happened, I think, and it's time to bring some of that hope back, I think. And in wrestling, we call it the hope spot. It's something for the good guy does before he gets cut off by the heel again, who's the bad guy. So the heel getting his ass beat there for a few seconds. It looks like the good guy's going to win, and he does something dastardly to put him back down again, rakes his eyes or low blows him or steps on his foot, something cheesy. And the hope spot for us will be a new wrestling promotion that I can put my time and energy into. Once again, writing for that, it's It's weird because when I was younger, I want to physically wrestle is my absolute first objective. Like I want to get to wrestle and be the best there is. Now it's like, no, I kind of want to write the stories that people are going to remember and really, really enjoy. And that's what I'm into now. I think I'm going to do a little bit of wrestling, but it won't be the focus this time. And I'll be more at peace with that.
Yep.
And rightfully so. I'll be 40 now next February. So I'm not exactly a spring chicken.
You're still a lot younger than me.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something now. When I was in that hospital and I woke up from that coma, and I came to and I could get up out of my bed and go to the bathroom by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if I can fucking do this, I can do anything. So the fear of death is gone completely. It's like I never had a fear of it before because I knew there was life after death. Another reason why I can't investigate anymore, Kat. How can you investigate when you know in your heart and around you that you've documented thousands of EVP? Like there's something to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you exactly what electronic voice phenomena is, but I'm going to tell you that, man, there's no doubt in my mind there's something to it. There's something to it. You don't just die and everything goes black. That's not how this works. There's an afterlife of some sort. I don't know what it is. And how can I investigate without being objective? I'm a hypocrite. The actual word investigate, really means to go out and be objective and look at the facts. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I know ghosts are real. I know that they leave messages for you on your recorder somehow. I know it's very, very real, and I can't disagree with that now.
Do you feel comfortable talking about your NDE?
Always. In fact, it's a really interesting thing. I've pieced together a lot of the things that were going on in my brain at the time, and wrote out every single memory I have been in a coma, and everything is just so surreal, absolutely insane. Interestingly enough, though, a lot of what was going on around me, probably while I was unconscious, were turned into this bizarre world I lived in for felt like years. And, that near-death experience, I think a lot of people talk about having their life flash before their eyes before they die sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think there's more to it than that. I'd like to have more people who've had those near-death experiences and been in comas and stuff talk to me about what they've been through. There's an incredible story there alone of everything I can remember being in that coma. And it would blow your mind, like to the fact that I was just a completely different person living a different life. I can remember, and this is not something that went on for a few minutes. Like this was years. I lived years in that coma, it felt like.
Can you walk us through your experience? What happened and what happened to you before it? Like, what's the word I'm looking for? How did you get to be in the coma, and what happened to you during your coma?
Sure, no problem. So, I'm going to tell you right now that the scariest way to die is asphyxiation. Okay, so that's not necessarily being choked to death. It's I can't get oxygen into my lungs, and I struggle, and I die. That's what happened to me. So it's the scariest way to die. It's documented. It was the 28th of December. I was out on a date with my wife. We were staying at a hotel celebrating my brother and sister's anniversary. We wanted to go and just have a nice time. And I wasn't feeling very good, but I was like, you know what? Let's go. Let's go have some fun. And they all went downstairs swimming. And I looked at all of them and said, yeah, I'm going to stay up here in the room now and just have a beer and watch the show. And I'm just not feeling it, man. I'm feeling a little bit out of it. And they're like, okay, cool. They went on downstairs. They came back up, looked at them and said, we got to go to the hospital. I'm having trouble breathing. Mm-hmm. My wife now is a nurse. So there's two kinds of wives and there's two kinds of nurses. My wife loves me very much, there's no doubt, but very little empathy when it comes to health stuff because she watches people die for a living.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think she ever really forgave herself. When I looked at her and said, yeah, like, I'm not feeling good. She'd go, wait, Johnny, there's nothing wrong with you, boy. Jeez, go on. I'm like, I'm feeling like I might need to go to the hospital. Like I'm having trouble breathing and catching my breath. And I can remember looking at her and saying, okay, so I'm going without you. If you're coming with me, come on. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we went downstairs, got in a cab, went to the hospital, walked into the waiting room, explained who I was, what's going on. they looked at me and they said, "Oh yeah, you don't look too bad." And they took my oxygen levels and were like, "Ooh, yeah, your oxygen isn't very good. You are struggling to breathe." I'm like, "Thank you." Like, I don't have COVID. I've been tested 3 times this week. I thought it was just a cold or something. They tested me for COVID immediately, rapid tested me, and you're like, nothing COVID coming up. So I thought, God, that was so weird, right? Because it was like, how could it not be COVID?
Yeah.
Newfoundland, I went to the hospital on the 28th. I sat in the bed, and they put this thing on me that people with sleep apnea use. Just to kind of give my lungs a little break, so to speak, so I can drift off and get some rest, because what they think is going on is my lungs were spasming from being overworked, which is something that happens with your heart too. It's like almost like a heart attack for your lungs, basically. They put me on that, and I seemed to chill out and calm down, and I felt really tired. I was like, oh, this feels good. The pure oxygen, I don't feel panicked anymore. This is great. I looked at my wife and said, you know what? I'm going to go to sleep now, like the doctor wants me to, for a little while, and like, everything's going to be fine. She's like, yeah, I agree. So I fell asleep, and she stayed there for an hour, and they were like, yeah, you go on back to the hotel now. He'll be all right now, probably another day or so. We'll let him rest. Anyway, my poor wife, she goes back to the hotel room, goes to sleep. They call her back at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's critical, come back to the hospital. So my last memory is I woke up. I was in a massive panic. I couldn't get any air in. I ripped the mask off my face. They had on me. I looked around. I was banging on the walls, doing it all. I sat up on the bed and gripped the sides of the bed, trying to get my breath. And I remember the doctor or the nurse came in, and she was like, oh, code, code, code. I remember her saying code or something and hitting the buttons. I couldn't breathe. She knew right away because she could just tell by looking at me, I guess. And everything just very slowly faded to black. Woke up 2 weeks later. Didn't know who I was, where I was. Couldn't move. After 2 weeks in a coma, your body just completely shuts down. You can't move. Plus, the drug they gave me, propofol, is a very, very strong drug. Extremely, like, it's a sedative. It's also like, it's just, you take that, it puts you in a coma. Basically, they had to put me in a medically induced coma. So my lungs could recuperate, because I couldn't do it alone. And it was absolutely fucked, to say the least. Pardon my French. The things I saw in that coma were as real as me and you talking right now. I'm telling you right now that it wasn't necessarily a near-death experience in my brain. This was an artificially created world that my brain pieced together through pieces of my personality and what was going on around me at the time. To give you an example, I dreamt that I was on a resort. Okay? Not like this one. I dreamt I was like down in Dominican Republic somewhere, like something I'd done before many times that I absolutely love to do. And I remember I was sitting down on the beach chair, and funny enough, everything I did, I was always sitting down, though. I never walked in any of my hallucinations.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? It's like my brain knew I was sedated, but I was still on that honestly, it's astral projection, for any lack of word. How could it not be? Your body is not moving, but you are. So it's really interesting. But anyway, I was on the resort, and I remember seeing people come out, and they started handing me drinks, and I was drinking, and I was having a good time and chatting with people. It was so much fun, and just everyone was celebrating. I can remember that, and then I can't remember what happened after that. So my thought is, remember, I went in on the 28th of December. What if that was the nurses and everyone celebrating New Year's with their little fake champagne in a merge, like they would? They do it, singing and dancing with the party hats on and stuff. They do that every year. And that's what I'm thinking. That's what that was. I took that party atmosphere, that little stuff that's going around me, and I turned that into a whole hallucination based on my personality and my experiences in the real world. Absolutely bizarre. Like, I'm not going to recommend a coma to anybody. But if you're ever near death yourself, or know anybody who's near death, and they say, we want to make you comfortable, and they say propofol, go for it. It's the best trip I ever had. And this is from a guy who's done a lot of mushrooms.
That could be your wrestling name.
Propofol.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put you to sleep.
exactly.
Jesus Christ, that's terrible. Oh my God. Okay, I can hear it now. I'm coming to the ring, and I get the guy in a hold. I'm just like, go to sleep. Put him in a sleeper hold. Down he goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, Cat. Makes sense. You know. The hardest part of all this is seeing your kids and your wife go through it. Luckily, I wasn't there to see any of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty traumatizing on everybody in our family. All jokes aside, and you know, how could I not want to go back to wrestling? How could I not want to go back to the things I loved to do before that I might not be able to do 20 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Ghost hunting will always be there. You can do that in a wheelchair with no legs and arms.
Yeah,
right?
true. Yeah. Wrestling.
There's things in my life I can't do right. Like there's things I can do later. I can go back to that. Listen, 10, 15 years from now, I go back to ghost hunting. And I do it all again, and I write another book.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it all. But physically, time is running out to do the things I love to do with my body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to go and do the wrestling. It's time to go and get jacked again and all that stuff. So it's time to do that. It is. And for the most part, though, it's just too many coincidences and things coming back together. Like the people who are in my life who want to get this wrestling thing on the go came into my life via serendipity. This experience in the hospital made everyone like go, holy fuck, he's going to die. Like we got to reach out to him. And what did they do? They reach out to you with their memories, and most of their memories, you either know me from the paranormal or you know me from pile drivers, one or the other.
Now,
So,
wasn't there a moment when you were in your coma, something about a shaman? I can never pronounce it properly.
Yes. Now, how interesting is this? Now, I mean, I've talked to people about shamanism before and stuff like that, but like every culture has their own version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, the indigenous people in the Amazon are not going to have the same shaman as the people up north.
Yep.
So it's interesting that they got the same idea, but they haven't got the same ways of doing things. Makes sense. It's no different than our dialects and the way we talk. Like I'm from Newfoundland, you can tell. The guy I bought, a hot dog off the other day from here in the States is from Louisiana. Let me tell you, can tell he's from Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Don't tell Steph, but the girls here and their accents, oh my God. I think I was a Newfoundlander born and raised, but I'm probably a better off being a Yankee Doodle. I really do. Anyway, where was I too? What was I talking about?
Shaman.
Yes, the shaman.
Get the girls out of your mind, John. Get the girls out of your mind.
I can't help it. There's other things that have been reawakened. My libido was found at the end of a Propofol bottle. Go figure. There was a moment in my dream where I was having, I think his name is Eschler staircases. It's you might see the painting. It's just many staircases from all different directions. Pretty popular painting. Yep. But it's supposed to represent the subconscious mind. And of course, when you're under, you are your subconscious mind brought to life. So I was kind of in a situation like that. It was kind of scary. Some scary shit was going on. I can remember there were doors all around me, like on an angle, like nothing made sense. There was doors everywhere. I could see my family in front of me. They were all there hanging out, partying. And like, there were people banging on these doors. It was just, it was really scary, honestly. And like, I started to feeling like this is a nightmare part of the Propofol experience. Like, I was starting to have a nightmare. And then suddenly in walks this I can't describe it any more than just calm being. Dark skinned, looked Native American to me. May have been Innu. I'm not really sure. But he just walked in and he had this look on his face of complete and total calm. Like, there's this look, like if you look at my face right now, I'm very happy. His face is like this. Just completely calm. I looked at him, I was just like, and like, I didn't know what to think. And he didn't talk to me. He didn't say a word to me. But when we locked eyes, it was like, okay, I focused on him. And then he took out a shell and a feather, and there was smoke coming out of all of it. And he was whiffing the feather around me and blowing the smoke around me and going all around me to calm. Like, I never understood what was going on. I didn't know what that meant. I probably have heard about some ritual like that before, especially the smudge part. Like the part of the smoking I could see, but like the fact that he was using a certain type of clamshell and a feather, the way he did it was, I mean, to me, I didn't really understand. And then after that, that scene faded and that was over. Anyway, fast forward a year, I'm doing a television show in Moncton, and the lady there decided I need to be smudged based on this, and the other thing. And I just said, well, this is the perfect person to ask about this. This is someone who literally does this on TV. Why not ask her what this is? So I talked to her about that experience, and she told me that the clamshell and the type of feather I described were very much Native American. Okay. And the way that the ritual was done to a T. Perfectly done the exact way it was meant to in every regard. So I had an actual shaman come to me in my vision and cleanse me while I was in there during a nightmare state. I thought that was just...
And you had no knowledge of any type of ceremony before then?
Kat, I'm sure I've seen things, but I never grasped the fact that it was a clamshell.
Yeah.
That there was a certain type of grass that was burning, that there was a way you had to wave your feather over it and chanting and stuff like that, that I didn't know anything about it. And it was explained to me very thoroughly. And then I said, okay, I'm going to describe this to you. And she said, you just talked about an Indian, like a Native American, okay? Like, this is the real deal. Like, you wouldn't know that unless you were either A, trained, or B, very knowledgeable on the subject. So it was, to me, there's always going to be proof in the pudding of the paranormal. How on earth did I come up with that? How on earth did I piece that together and do it right? It's one thing to have, a guy with a feather rolling around, but this guy, like, he knew exactly what he was at. And once again, the world of the paranormal exists everywhere, even in dream states.
That's amazing. Did you know you were in a coma? Or
No, I didn't know who I was or what I was for the most part. I think part of the drugs' abilities are to dull your sense of alarm and panic. So the thought of being in a very dangerous place and stuff like that, it literally dulls it. So this is why people can dream of flying. But like, if you were actually flying like that, you'd have a heart attack and probably die. Because it's very scary, for real. That part of your brain is shut down, right, during that. So the flight or fight system is shut down. The main part of your brain, which is coming up with all this stuff, is, I mean, it's the part of you that makes you different from monkeys, man. It's your consciousness.
Makes me wonder if that shaman was sent to you from someone who knew that you were in need.
Interestingly enough, my good old friend Rob, who I started Paranormal Investigation with, and he's all over my book, I haven't talked to him in a long time. When I came out of the coma and seen all the messages from him, I was like, okay. I was messaging back, say, hey, man, I'm okay. I'm awake. Stoned in my trees, but I'm here. Right? And he was like, one of the first things he said to me was, yeah, like, I sent my spirit guide to you.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, can you describe your spirit guide? And he said he has no form. He's going to take on a form that you would know and recognize. And I was like, okay. I thought it was interesting that maybe what I saw was what I would think a shaman would look like.
Yeah.
But then the shaman itself knew what it was doing. Does that make sense?
That's crazy.
My life is crazy.
You're crazy.
A little bit.
Let's talk a little bit about your book, because I absolutely love this book. I don't even know if it's out in actual, like, you can hold in your hand, but the audio version, because I loved how you have the EVPs in there.
Yeah, like Newfie EVP Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland is a fully interactive electronic voice phenomena research paper, basically. It's just put together into a book. And I really made sure that people could be a part of it. So when they go through all the EVP and they see what was caught and what circumstances they are, then you can listen to the EVP themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool idea. Very different.
It is, yeah.
Very different feeling for some. For some people, it's Jesus. Like, what is this? I don't understand this, and they hear it like I can't hear it, and that's okay. Other people are like, oh my God, this was such an immersive experience. Very, very hard to deny a lot of the stuff I caught. One thing I will say about what I've got in that book is probably the best of the best I've ever heard, from me anyway. But once again, I did it more than the average person would do it. Like I went all out. Like I was paranormal investigating these places by myself for months, combing through, trying to find repeatable data. Was the closest thing to the scientific method I can nail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this book it's a diary for anybody out there who wants to be a paranormal investigator, but also a very large net I cast in these places, investigating almost 20 times in Cape Spear, for instance. Like, not many people are willing to do that, nor do they have the time or resources.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into these places and you investigate, it's one thing to capture a voice, but can you go back 20 times and get the same one again? Can you get intelligent things talking to you? My experiences down there in Cape Spear, it's all renovated now.
Oh, is it?
If I was to go back to Cape Spear now, it'd be a completely different experience. It's completely renovated, 100% just made more safe and accessible to everybody. Back when I was going, the place was crumbling. Like, I was there in the middle of February in a survival suit, documented and stuff.
Good grief.
2:00 in the morning down by the ocean. Like I took this very serious, and I think there's a lot of people out there who I just don't think they'll go that extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can inspire you to go that extra mile, please do it.
Can you tell us a little bit about Cape Spear for those who don't know about it?
Well, first off, I mean, come on. It's open to the public at all hours of the night.
All hours, really?
All hours of the night. There's no security.
Mm-hmm.
There's no light. Nothing down there. It's completely dark.
Well, I can understand why there's no security. It's in Newfoundland. Who goes to Newfoundland? I'm kidding.
A lot of people, a lot of tourists.
I know.
But
yeah.
At night, like it's just not a hospitable place. Like if you're going down there in the middle of the night, you got intentions to do something down there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not going down there. Like you're going down there to like, I don't even know. I've never seen anybody down there. I think people might get out of their cars and go for a walk at night, smoke a draw, and go back to their cars. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a place where people want to go to have fun. Like there's no radio, like almost no. I think there was one station I got over there. So perfect for EVP work and amazing for spirit box work, because whatever comes through, chances are it's going to be paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the little secrets of this place was I had software that only detected the audio pops on it. So what that meant was that it saved me hours and hours and hours of research. Only when something showed up would I capture it. Not that I didn't go over everything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of had no choice. You see the lightning flash that time, Kat?
No, I didn't.
I might be getting a shock. There's many reasons to investigate down there, but the solitude, there's no traffic, it's absolutely silent. And like this is the first place I was ever in where I heard footsteps go up a hall. Like in real time. Very rare. This is the first place I've ever gone to that had residual and intelligent hauntings at the same time. Like you can hear a cell door slamming. You can get things talking to you in real time. Like it's very, very active, but nothing malevolent, like nothing scary, nothing to the point where it's going to be harmful. I really enjoyed it. And to be honest, some of the happiest moments of my life was down in that creepy ass place, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night, just me and my spirit box going and me talking to some random spirit down there trying to make a connection. I remember very fondly a funny story from this place though. And I'll share it with you because I think it'll make you laugh. This is funny. So me and my buddy are down there investigating and completely closed off down there once again. It's a really cold night, but it's fall, which means that people might come by, basically. We have alarms set up in two of the motion sensor alarms, actually set up in one of the tunnels, because we keep getting the footsteps. We don't get any pictures of anything doing it. Like, we're still trying to figure out what's causing that sound. So we set up the perimeter alarm. So this thing will go off if anybody walks by. Anyway, we go on to the other bunker, which is like 2 minutes away, and we're investigating away. And then all of a sudden, while we hear in the background is, wee, 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 wee.
Yep.
We're looking at each other and go, oh, we got something. So we run back, and here's three kids.
Oh, no.
Here's three people down there smoking a draw, right? And they're like, what the fuck is this? And I was just like, oh, we're down here doing some investigation. Sorry about that. We didn't think anybody would be down here at 2 o'clock in the morning. And they were like, yeah, well, that's why we wanted to come here and smoke weed. And I was like, okay. So the three of them are there baked out of their minds. I look over at Rob and I go, so you guys want to go on a ghost hunt? And they go, yeah. And like, I can remember I'm like, let's bring them to the tunnel where we hear the footsteps. And we all went in the other room, and it was so quiet. And we hear the footsteps. It's very prevalent. Like, you couldn't miss it. And the other guy was like, oh my God, what was that? I was like, I'll go out and look. He's like, you're the bravest person that ever lived. It was like investigating with Shaggy from Scooby-Doo for real. And
Doing some
anyway,
Scooby snacks.
I thought it was great fun. There's a bit of entertainment there for sure.
That's awesome.
And they had good fun. But that was probably the only time my investigating ever turned to something goofy and fun. And it's a story I kind of hold dear to my heart, because I know there's entertainment value in what we do as well. And, laughing and carrying on with everybody. Now, you had to see the lightning that time.
No, I'm not. I'm just looking at you.
We might get rained out.
Oh, no.
Come on, give us a lightning flash.
That would be perfect ambience.
I know.
So what's the history of Cape
Call an
Spear?
ambulance. Well,
What's the history of Cape Spear?
basically, it was a defense fort, which was built for World War One and World War II as well. It was used for sinking Nazi boats. Great big battle guns up on top of the hill, basically, that could go down about 100 meters into the water. Great big cannonballs, like lots of that kind of stuff. That technology back then was top notch. Most of the soldiers that were there weren't from Newfoundland, though. They were mostly British. And a lot of the EVP we got through there were actually Brits coming through.
That's amazing.
A lot of mates.
Yeah.
And a lot of oys and stuff like that. There was a couple of stories of people down there too drowning, unfortunately.
Oh.
Because it's the most easterly part of Canada, Cape Spear is that portion. So if you were of the spiritual idea that you want to journey across the world or anything like that, unfortunately, 5 of the 6 people that have quote unquote died down there or committed suicide are Asian.
Really?
I don't really understand what the premise of it is, but anyway, it is true. There was at least 2 people killed down there in the time that I was investigating alone. So there's a lot of, we'll say, spiritual energy down there, I believe, from wartime, but as well, it's kind of charged from, it's surrounded by big water everywhere, like big wave water, like dangerous waves. And also, like, 6 people are dead. Like, they died there. So this is like the perfect place to investigate, really. I can't think of a better place to go.
Now, tell us a little. We're at the tail end here, but I'd like to talk a little bit about your show too.
Yeah, the Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast. So
it's a great
this
show.
Thing has been around for a while. It's changed its face a few times.
It has, yeah.
I recently just went back to my original format of multiple segments, one show. And most of that's because the guys from Podbean messaged me and were like, hey, we're putting in chapters in your podcast. Just letting you know, like, you're going to be able to physically do that soon. So you might want to, like, stop putting out so much content and just do one show again. I was like, okay. I had a really good relationship with those guys.
Nice.
They love me, and I love them. They're so good over there. They're a bit behind technologically wise, but listen, they keep coming up with ideas, and I keep trying them. God bless them. They're doing well. The show itself has been on a steady incline since really 3 years ago. It has blown up. My show is everywhere now. It's really well known. It's a good feeling to know that it's got a good home, and I don't feel like I want to move it from there. The show itself now, I think, my God, I think we're on like 260 episodes now.
Wow.
Crazy. 10-year anniversary will be next July,
That's
I
amazing.
believe. So it's 2014. So it'll be 9 years this year and 10 next year. That's quite the accomplishment.
No kidding.
There are very few things in my life that I've done for 10 years. So obviously I love this very much. So many cool stories, so many cool ideas in those shows.
Yep.
I've gone from a quick little rant once a month.
Nope. I saw the lightning flash this time.
Oh, yeah. I kind of figured. Yeah. And above my head, there's like this halo.
Yeah.
Might be a fucking UFO or some shit. I don't know. The show itself has gone through a few facelifts. I started off with a segment of the show, just news and a guest, and then I went for cryptid corners and oddities and all this stuff. Like, I've always made my show, an experience. There was a time a little while back where I decided, hey, you know what? I got this very long show. People aren't really digesting it enough. I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just split it up basically to get more plugs and views and to help out the sponsor a bit more because they're kind of on me to produce more content. Acusonics love me, but they want more. They want more referrals. Please put out more content. I'm like, man, okay, I'll try it out. What I found was that it was becoming more of a chore.
It wasn't a love anymore.
Yeah. It went from producing 2 episodes to 3 and 4, and then all of a sudden I'm doing this weekly, and I'm like, this is not what I wanted to do with this at all. Like, I wanted this to be once a month, and I want it to be based on the Weekly World News dirt rag used to buy at the gas station. Absolutely goofy, silly. You can't wait to pick it up. It only comes out once a month, and you open it up and you flip through all the pages. One page is paranormal news. Next page is the Cryptid Corner. Next page is this. That's what I wanted my show to be. So I kind of got away from that. Then I got sick. I had to take some time off. My voice was absolutely useless. I couldn't talk. I was intubated. So that means is that I had a large thing shoved down my throat, basically, to help me breathe. My voice was shot. Obviously, my voice is very strong now. In fact, we've been talking now for quite some time, and I haven't had a need for a drink or anything. So we're doing good.
You're doing amazing.
Right? Like, this time last year, I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
No way. That's taking some time to get that vocal range back too, where it's very difficult to do, especially when usually when I record, I'm talking a little bit lower like this. So it's very difficult to do that. But anyhow, the show itself, I just took another little break a little while ago. That was based on the fact that 4 of my guests canceled. I was like, oh my God, I'm not putting together a show without you get.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Listen, there's only so many times I can call poor old Brian. Say, listen, man, fill in for me.
Yeah, I love Brian.
But I love him too. But anyway, there's a couple of things now coming up. So I got a show coming out on the 1st of May, but I'm in Florida. So that's not going to be a traditional show either. That's just going to be an interview. But it's a really good interview, and it's over an hour. So it fills the time slot.
Nice. I
just released a classic episode of The Odd to Newfoundland. Like, classic episode of it. Cryptid Corner in it, everything. That was the first of this month of April. So, please, guys, go ahead and download it. My show is everywhere. If you can't find the Odd to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast, you're not on a you're just not on a podcast aggregate.
Yeah.
Like, you can literally go type it into Google, Odd to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast, and it'll come up 100 different ways to hear it and see it and love it. I got a smart link now too for all my episodes I put up on Facebook. The smart link will bring you to basically whatever app you got on your phone. So if you don't have any apps on your phone, it'll take you to Google. If you've got Podbean, it won't take you there. But if you got like Spotify, it'll take you to Spotify. If you got iTunes, it'll take you to iTunes and just let you hear it. Once again, my content comes out on the 1st of every month. And I sure would love to have everyone stop by and have a little listen to the crazy, goofy Noopy up north who cannot wait to entertain you hopefully for another 10 years.
Folks, you really do have to tune in. He does have a really good show, and you make me laugh a lot of times too. You're just a great guy.
So do you laugh at the fact that my thing too, I don't curse on my show, okay? And I've always been against it because I always thought about my little kids listening to this someday, just weird thoughts like that. So, but unfortunately, this world is so fucked. Yeah. So fucked. You got to curse. So my thing now is I'm just putting in the sound effect, the beep.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had people message me back and say, this is brilliant. You got to keep cursing. This is so funny. It's funny. I was talking about some cryptid or something. I can't remember what it was. And I kept making fun of the person who purportedly saw it, it was just F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb. And it was just beep, 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 beep. It was just so funny. You go back and listen. If I listen back to myself and I laugh, because I don't know about you, but I hate listening to myself.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah.
I don't like hearing myself. It's actually a psychological thing. You know that? There's a part of your brain that doesn't want to hear your voice and doesn't like your voice. And the reason why is because what you hear when you talk is not what you hear when it's recorded. Because you got more bass in your voice and it comes out slower, but really you're talking way faster and way higher pitch, so it annoys you. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. And then there's the other part of it too, where it's oh my God, I've been doing this for so long, I don't want to hear myself over and over again. Ugh. No thanks.
I get embarrassed when I hear myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's common too. It's common too.
I'm not as bad as I was. When I edit my episodes, I'm not as cringy. Yeah. But I used to dread having to edit my episodes. But not so bad now, but I still don't like hearing myself.
I think so. There's a part of me that needs to hear my voice to make sure that it sounds okay, but only for a few minutes. And I'm okay, I'm good. Let's just get the levels right. Okay, I annoy myself. I hope my fans don't get annoyed by my voice like I do.
I doubt it, because they wouldn't listen if they were.
Yeah, and there's people who've been listening to my show now for almost 10 years. Yep. I get emails from people who are like, "Hey man, how you doing? Just checking in with you." And I really love those fans. One of the things I've always been accused of is I'm not interactive enough with my fans. And I don't do enough podcasting, social media push basically stuff. And I'm just nah, man, listen, if you like my show and you really enjoy it, you'll listen to it. Yep. I don't care how many people download it. I could care less. I got a great job. I got a great life. I don't need to get paid in views and money that way. I'm good. Mm-hmm. It's a passion project for me, and too much work. I'll put the show out and I'll share it. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all you need to do. And networking like this helps.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Having you there, and I love the fact that you wanted me to come on. And it was interesting when you mentioned me. I was like, oh my God, I got to come on your 100th episode. Come on.
Yep.
In fact, I was probably your second guest, I think.
No.
I was pretty low.
Yeah. I can't remember, but yeah. And you've been on a couple of times, and we've had so I remember one of the first time, I don't know if it was the first time you were on, but it was early on, and we did lots of laughing. And I had one comment say, it's not a true paranormal podcast because there is too much laughing and there's no laughter in the paranormal. And I'm like, really? You've never been out investigating? Because when the team that I'm with goes out, we have lots of laughs. We have lots of scares. We have lots of serious time, but no, it's fun.
That guy would hate my show because it's literally making fun of people like him. Oh my God. What was it I was talking about a little while ago on it? God damn it. It was something about a cocaine orangutan or something.
Cocaine bear?
No, that was a movie.
Yeah.
It was some kind of monkey or something. I can't even remember what it was, but I know it was some kind of primate. I can't remember what it was, but it had gotten into methamphetamine or something and had been terrorizing a village and all this. And it was just and in the background I had and the sounds of the guys from the movie Blow, the music playing in the background and shit. And it was just I was thinking to myself, man, anybody who's serious to the paranormal, they're going to hate my show.
Yeah.
But the majority of people who are into the paranormal are looking for an escape from the normal. And I really feel that my show is going to give you that escape, because you're going to have fun. You're going to laugh.
Yep.
Some of it's ridiculous. Some of it's sad. Some of it's happy. There's all kinds of emotions. It's a show. And that's important. You want your paranormal news straight to the point, to the hilt?
Mm-hmm.
Look up Straight Paranormal Talk somewhere.
Listen to your show. I laugh. I cry. It becomes a part of me.
Got no choice. I got my talons in deep on you, Cat Ward.
Yes, you do. Well, before we sign off, my friend, can you tell the listeners where they can find you?
Oh my goodness, I'm everywhere. Facebook has always been a thing. I always tell people, go on Facebook, look up Odd the Newfoundland. And I post everything there. The cool thing about that, though, is then you get to see all the neat posters I put together for every show. I do all my own graphics and stuff. So come and enjoy it. Facebook, Odd the Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast. You can look up Odd the Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast on Google, and I'm sure you'll find me.
Oh, yeah.
Not hard to find at all. I don't really have a dedicated website, but the Odd the Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast on Podbean, that website, that aggregate, I'd really appreciate you going on there and leaving comments and stuff, because it lets Podbean know that, hey, man, we're still alive.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Jon. Thank you for being a part of my 100th episode. Thank you for helping me on this journey early on in the beginning and continuing support. I really appreciate you.
Oh, man, thank you so much for having me. I really, really am proud of you. And, I look at you as one of mine.
Yep.
You're one of mine. You're one of the ones I inspired to go and do these things. So
that you did.
It's kind of like a boomerang. It came back to me, and I love that. I love it so much that I would spend an hour or so of my beloved tropical vacation in Florida with you.
I really appreciate it.
All my family are sound asleep, wondering what the fuck I'm doing outside.
Yeah, I went from being terrified from my very first interview on your show to having my own show. So again, thank you.
I'm not terrified, but that lightning I just keep seeing up there, man, it's starting to freak me out. I should probably go before it starts to rain, actually. Okay. See you, Kat. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Much love and respect, my friend. Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions and comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to PurplePlanet.com for supplying the music for the show. The views and opinions expressed on Paranormal Heart are those of the host and participants.
Paranormal Heart Podcast.